Okay guys, we are live. Let's begin. So every Avas. Let me just check my voice. It's fine. Okay, that's fine. So hey everyone, I'm Viraj Jain, your mentor at Geeks for Geeks. And guys, in this video, we're going to learn about AWS VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. So this is going to be a very good topic, and it's gonna take 3-4 videos to actually cover this one because it's actually containing some network-based things and two sensitive topics like route table, like subnets, like internet tables. Okay, yeah, internet table, that means internet gateway, and we have different things. So basically we are going to cover all of these, but today we are going to talk about what's VPC, what's the purpose of VPC, how we can use it in AWS. Along with that, we are going to create subnets, and what's subnet, we are going to discuss that, and also some extra topics which we always use, like we use IPCI CDR, like something like that. We have a topic CIDR, classless inter domain routing, right? And then we have subnet, we have route table, and then we have internet gateway, IGW. And then we also use NACL, that means network access control list. These are all topics which we are going to study, and today I am just going to give an overview of these topics, and we are going to use AWS to create a virtual private cloud. Okay, so these are some topics which we have always been using throughout these videos, like EC2 instance and S3, but we have some network settings, right? There we have default virtual private cloud, and that's the default one. It's like it has some limited number of rules, and basically, yeah, it's accessible to everyone. But what's the purpose of virtual private cloud? Now we are going to understand properly, and we are going to create our own virtual private cloud. Okay, so virtual private cloud is nothing but you can consider as a house. So let me just give you an example. So imagine you have a house. Okay, imagine, okay, some people don't have a house. Anyways, just imagine you have a house. So this is suppose your house, right? This is suppose your house, and inside this house, who can enter? Obviously the people you allow and your family members can enter this house. That means this maintains some privacy. Okay, so you can consider this house as a virtual private cloud. Okay, so let me just write here that this house is basically my VPC equals house. Okay, something like that. So this is a very good example. Now what's the purpose of this? So you can consider that suppose you have a company. There are some things which you would never share with anyone. You want to keep those things locked only to your employees, only to some set of employees, right? That means your house is the company, right? In that company also, some employees know about a stuff, some employees don't know about a stuff. That means some very important formula. Suppose you are a company like Coca-Cola, and you have a recipe to prepare the drink. You are a company, right? You are a company. Now only some set of people only know the recipe how to prepare a Coca-Cola, right? That means only some set of people in your whole company know how to make thing. Okay, how to just build, how to just make that drink, right? So this house is acting as a VPC. This house has multiple rooms, right? This house has multiple rooms. So this is room number, like this. You can divide the house in multiple rooms, right? So this can act as your room number one. This can act as your room number one. And let me just make it yellow. Okay, this is your room number one, right? Similarly, guys, okay, I'll just give it some highlight. Okay, this is room number one. Similarly, guys, you're gonna have another room here. Okay, similarly, guys, you're gonna have another room here. Similarly, guys, you're gonna have another room here. Perfect. So these rooms are what? These rooms are basically subnets. Okay, so when someone asks you what's VPC, VPC is like a virtual private space, virtual private cloud. It's like a house. And what's a subnet? So basically, if you're referring VPC as a house, so inside that you would be having multiple spaces, right? Multiple spaces for different requirements. So you're gonna say that only my top employees who know all the things, security related things, all the khufiya jankari, okay, secret details are known by room number 1 people, room 1. Okay, I'm just gonna make it black colored, room 1, right? Similarly, the other employees who are expert in database stuff, okay, who are expert in database stuff are in room number 2, and they know all the stuff of database. Room number 1 doesn't know much about database, but room number 2 knows about the database, but room number 2 doesn't know what room number 1 does. Okay, that means there is some privacy. Okay, and yeah, there is some privacy. Similarly, we're gonna have room number 3, and similarly we're gonna have room number 4. Now these would actually act as your subnets. These rooms are what called as subnets. Okay, so in virtual private cloud we have different subnets for different security purpose. Okay, so subnet, right? Subnet. Similarly, you're gonna say that others are also acting as subnets. Okay, that means one house has multiple rooms. Similarly, one VPC can have multiple subnets, right? So it's like you have a region, right? You have a region. Suppose my nearest region is Mumbai region, right? Mumbai region has different availability zones, right? Mumbai region has 1A, 1B, 1C, like that availability zones, right? Let me just show you AWS regions. Okay, if I just search about it, and I think there is a list provided by AWS here. Let me just search about it. Yeah, you can see that we have different regions. You can see that suppose this is a region, you would be creating a virtual private cloud in any of the region. I would be creating it in Mumbai. Okay, now you would have some options for subnets. Okay, you're gonna have some options for subnets. So there they haven't mentioned the subnets here. I think they have mentioned the availability zones below, but yeah, you know that the region is Asia Pacific Mumbai, and then you're gonna have different subnets. So I'm gonna pass one Asia Pacific 1A for this subnet. Okay, so I'm gonna say that this subnet is in 1A availability zone, right? Similarly, this subnet is suppose in 1B availability zone. I hope you know what's availability zone and what's a region, right? Similarly, this subnet 4 is suppose again in 1A availability zone. You can just repeat things also, there is no problem, but yeah, you have to give these things in the rules. And you can say suppose this one is in 1C, right? So you can see that different subnets can be passed in different availability zones, right? And this VPC would be in some region. Okay, some region like Asia Pacific Mumbai, right? Okay, so I hope you got the basic idea that we're gonna create a house in some specific region, Asia Pacific Mumbai. That house has multiple rooms known as subnet. These subnets can be in different availability zone. Okay, a region that is Mumbai can have multiple availability zones, right? Has availability zone, multiple availability zone. I think they have shown availability zones. Let me just go to Asia Pacific, and in Asia Pacific you can have Mumbai, and you can see that Mumbai has 3 availability zones, right? Perfect. That means 3 subnets or more subnets can be created in these availability zones. Okay, one subnet can have one availability zone, and like that. Okay, so you can see you can repeat availability zones also, but yeah, it must have an availability zone, right? And this virtual private cloud will always be containing the region. Okay, will be always inside a specific region. Okay, that means VPC is region specific, subnet is availability zone specific. Okay, now guys, I'm going to give you a very good definition. So first of all, okay, I have explained one thing, that is house. In this analogy, the house is like the AWS web service cloud environment where you can run your application and store your data. Okay, so it's like you have this house, it's like a virtual private cloud, right? And just like in this house we have rooms, so these rooms would be acting as isolated sections. Okay, isolated section acting as your subnets. Okay, then guys, we have like each room has specific purpose and it's separate from others. Similarly, each subnet in AWS VPC is isolated from others. You can see that each room is isolated from others. That means each subnet is isolated from others, and allowing you to control access and security. That means this room is very secure for others. That means other can't access the data inside this one. Similarly, room 2 is very secure. Similarly, room 3 is very secure. Similarly, room 4 is very secure, right? For maintaining privacy, we make some separations like subnets. Okay, then we would be having a network also. Like in a house, you have electricity line and water supply and gas supply, right? And similarly, in AWS VPC, we can create our own virtual network. That means we're gonna say that in this house we can just decide who can enter this house, who cannot enter this house. Suppose this is the internet line, so we can decide that which room is going to have internet access, which room is not going to have internet access, which subnet is going to get internet, which subnet is not going to get internet. We can also decide that, right? And then we can have some firewall rules, like in some people, like they have puja rooms and they have kitchens where they don't allow, like in India, we don't allow people to wear slippers in the puja room or into the kitchen, right? That's something which we follow. And in other rooms, we are allowed to wear slippers, right? So we can decide, it's like a firewall. That means in this specific room, you cannot enter with your slippers, right? And similarly, we have other things also, we have other rules also. You can define your rules also into a specific firewall. Each firewall can be applied, right? So this is, it's very good for security purpose also. So just like you have locks in your door and windows to keep intruders out, AWS VPC allows you to set up security measures like firewalls and access control list. Okay, you would be having some firewall here. Okay, you would be having some firewall here which is going to just verify either you are a member of this house or not, or you are allowed to enter into this house or not, right? This is also something very important and security provided by VPC. And then we have different customizations, like just as you can customize your house furniture, etc. You can paint the house. In AWS VPC, you can customize your virtual network with different services. Like we can customize things, we can just give rules which we have in our house. I want my room to be this much size, I want my room to be having this much furniture, and this would be having my different color of walls, like that. So each subnet can have its own specific rules, each room can have its own specific rules. We can decide that. Okay, that's why we need a VPC for rules and for security measures, right? So this is a very basic overview. Now guys, after this, we're going to talk about important concepts like IPCIDR, route table, subnet, etc. Okay. Someone asked that we in the real world. Okay. Yeah, you asked that in real world what device is used as VPC. See, I'm not that much into networking, but I know that in our houses we have routers, right? We have routers, and it's like router has a firewall, right? And some specific set of rules. So you can consider that your router would be acting as a VPC, and then the routers is gonna have different switches. One is connected to your computer, one is connected to my other laptop, and one is connected to my television. Okay, different switches. So you can consider the different devices as subnet, and your router is going to be considered as what, as VPC, virtual private cloud, right? And your router has also some specific rules, like which is the request. Just a second guys. Yeah, your router has some specific rules which decides which request to process, which request to not, where to send the data. Okay, so that's a real life example, but it's not related to VPC. Like you might be thinking, in real world in our homes we don't have something like that, we don't call it VPC. VPC is something virtual private cloud, so it's related to cloud computing, right? And that's what we have it in AWS. Okay, so now guys, I'm going to talk about some basic terms which you're going to hear a lot. Okay, and in upcoming videos we're going to discuss them in brief, but today I'm going to give you a short overview also. Okay, so you can just search more about these topics. These are some topics which I was really scared when I was a beginner, and till now I'm not a network guy, I'm a developer, but still these are some basic terminologies. If you would know these terminologies, that would really great. Okay, so the first term would be yeah, I would like to mention IP. Please, you can mention that in the comment section if there is other term which you would hear in AWS in terms of VPC. Okay, so one term is CIDR. Okay, CIDR. Okay, this is the first term which you're going to hear a lot. Okay, IPCIDR, right? And then guys, we're gonna have other term named as subnet. You're gonna hear this a lot. Okay, subnet, right? And then guys, we are having another term named as route table. Route table, you're going to hear this a lot. And then I think one more topic is internet gateway, right? Internet gateway, it's like the internet connection. Okay, and then guys, we're gonna have one more topic named as NACL. It's not the sodium chloride, it's network access control list which we have in AWS. Okay, and here these are some topics which I'm going to cover in brief in the upcoming videos, but I'm going to mention this now. Okay, so IPCIDR, what is this? What is this? So it's like the full form of IPCIDR is classless inter-domain routing. Okay, so it's the notion used by a specific range of IP address. It's like you're gonna say, suppose your IP address is 192.168. Okay, dot suppose 255.2. Let me just make it 0 only. Okay, 0.0. Suppose this is an IP address. Okay, so you know that the maximum range of this one can be 0 to 255. Similarly, this can be 0 to 255. Please search about IP addresses, you will understand why am I saying this is the range. The range between this is 0 to 255. Characters can be here, 0 to 255 can be here. That means total 256 digits can come here. Okay, 256 numbers can come here, 0 to 255. Similarly, 0 to 255. That means this is some kind of range, this is some kind of range. Okay, so if somewhere you might see something like this /16. Okay, that means 8 each. Okay, 8 is each. Okay, so if I just search about IP address format, so you can see that IP address is 32-bit number. 32-bit is like, you can say that this is what you would see some IP address like this. Just a second guys, you would see an IP address like this. Okay, it can be something like 112, and this can be something like, I'm just picking an example. Okay, and 23, something like this. Okay, so this whole IP address would be having a range of 32 bits. That means 4 sections. That means 8 bit each. Okay, 8 bit each. 8 bit. This can be having a range of 8 bit. It would also be having a range of 8 bit and 8 bit. That means each would be having a range of 0 to 255 number. Okay, 0 to 255 integer. Right now, I'm gonna say that suppose you have some like I've just picked something like this. Okay, you would see something like this. Okay, suppose /16 is written. That means if the first 16 bit, that means 8 bit and 8 bit are matching with this number, then only allow the IP address, the user or the whatever is the person using with that IP, that computer, allow that computer connect to my virtual private cloud if they are having this IP. If they are having this IP, which IP? Starting with 192.168. That's why /16 is written. Okay, if suppose /24 is written, that means I am saying that if any computer, any device is trying to connect with my VPC, their IP must be starting with this 192.168.0. If this is the starting IP, so that's why 24 is written, /24 is written. Okay, if this is the starting IP, then only I am allowing it to connect to my VPC, virtual private cloud. That's why this is a term named as classless inter-domain routing. It's like you're gonna decide what route to send according to which IP. We're gonna discuss that. But yeah, this is some kind of IP which you're gonna see. We're gonna select when we are creating a virtual private cloud. Okay, then what's the subnet? Subnet is like if your VPC is a house, subnet is multiple rooms. Okay, we can have multiple subnets as multiple rooms of the house, right? Then we have route tables. Route table is like if this is the IP, if this is the IP range, I'm gonna say that this IP range is gonna have internet access. Okay, and this is like a table, it's like a table. So I'm gonna say that suppose this is the IP. Okay, if this is the IP, it would have internet access. If suppose this is the IP range, suppose I'm gonna say that if suppose this is the IP range, if suppose this is the IP range, this is not going to have internet access. So I'm gonna say no internet. So this is something which we are going to talk about in route table. Okay, we're going to talk about in route table. We're going to create different tables which would decide different access, different rules each in each row. Okay, I've just given a very basic example, but yeah, you would understand in future later on. But yeah, basic example how a route table is decided. Okay, so we're going to create a route table, and there we can decide which specific range of IPs is going to have internet access, which specific range of IP is not going to have internet access, and which specific range of IP has this specific subnet access, different rules. Okay, so we're going to talk about this in the upcoming videos. Now one more thing is internet gateway. Internet gateway is nothing but like internet access. Okay, internet access. So it's like when you are giving internet access, you're gonna allow internet gateway. That's it, internet access. Okay, then we're gonna talk about NACL. NACL is like we talked about security groups, right? We talked about security groups. So in security groups, we simply said that this specific of IP address is allowed to access my EC2 instance. In NACL, network access control list, I am saying, okay, I am saying that this specific IP address is not allowed. It's blocked from my system, blocked from my virtual private cloud. That means you can block IP address. We can block IP address here. Okay, that means I am saying that I suppose this specific hacker is having this IP address, so I can block that specific IP address from my VPC by applying it to NACL. Okay, that's it. That's why we have NACL, network access control list. Okay, so these are some terms, guys, which you are gonna hear a lot when we are learning AWS VPC. Right now, after this, guys, we are gonna start with AWS VPC. I'm gonna show it to you in the console. Okay, does firewall also acts as VPC level? Yes, it acts as VPC level. At VPC level, you are gonna decide the rules there. Okay, let me just show you now. So you'll understand with this example. I'll just create a VPC here. Okay, so I'll just log in with AWS. You can see I'm logged in, and here I would just simply search for VPC. Okay, acha, one more thing. If I go to my EC2 instance, and when you create an EC2 instance, so if I just go to instances, and if I want to create an instance, there also you have an option. So I'm just gonna say my NST1, something like that. Okay, and below you can just select the machine, and below that you can see that yeah, this is the machine image and everything is fine. You can select the key pair, you can select any old key pair, you can create a new key pair. Here, guys, you can see that there we get network settings. Okay, so this is what, this is a virtual private cloud. It's automatically associated. If I click on edit, you can just create a new virtual private cloud and you can select that virtual private cloud. Okay, this is the default virtual private cloud which we get from AWS. Okay, you can see that the IP of this is 172.31 and /16 simply means that if any IP address starts from this, then it's allowed to access my VPC, right? So suppose I'll just select the default one. I want to show you something. Okay, and here we have some separate rules. You can see that we have subnets. So I told you that VPC acts as a region. VPC acts as a region. That means Mumbai is a region. But 1A, 1B, 1C are availability zones, right? So you can see that subnet is acting as different levels. So you can just create, you can just say that my availability zone would be suppose this one. I think, yeah, would be suppose 1C. Okay, 1C, suppose 1C, right? And I'm just gonna say that IP address, so auto assign IP address, I'm just gonna say keep it enabled. Okay, Then guys, you can see that we have firewalls. Okay, we have firewalls. So here you can see a security group is a set of firewall rules that allow. So here also you can select the firewall. Now here we can just select a security group. According to that, a firewall would be created. Let's choose the default one, create security group. Okay, create security group, because we talked about security groups in the previous videos, but I'm not going to mention it today a lot because we are going to be specific about VPC. Security group is like, I'm saying that this IP address is allowed to access my EC2 instance. Okay, that's what security group would do in most cases. Okay, but we'll do it later on. And everything is fine. Here you can see, yeah, this is the security group rules. We are creating our security group. Okay, so here you are saying that you can just give custom IP. I am saying that this specific IP can access my EC2 instance. That means if this specific IP is of my computer, then only I can log into my AWS EC2 instance, and then I can use that EC2 instance. Okay, so this is done in the security group, separate topic. I'm just gonna say anywhere. Okay, default things. Now let me just check finally. Okay, you can see that selected instance type is not supported in 1C. Okay, anyways, let's try with this one. Okay, I think this one would work. This is what, 1A. Okay, 1A. So I'm just gonna launch the instance. I'm just showing you that if I choose default VPC, which is the subnet, we chosen 1A subnet, right? So now if I just go to instances, and here you can see that my inst1, this is the instance. You can see that the IP address range is what, 172.31. okay, this is the IP range. Okay, you can see this is the IP range. Okay, private IP range. This is what, this is coming from the VPC. This IP address comes from the VPC. I told you that our virtual private cloud has the default IP of what, IP range of what, 172.31 00/16. That was the range, right? That means any IP address of that range would be associated to my EC2 instance. Perfect. So this is the way. Now this is something which I wanted to tell you, and after this let's create our own VPC, and then we would do the same thing. Okay, then we would do the same thing. So here VPC, if I just search for this, I'll just click on create VPC. Okay, and here we have different options. Okay, we have different options. You can see that we have, if I just select VPC and more, you would see it something like this. Okay, if I just select VPC only, then you would see it something like this. Okay, so right now I'm just talking about VPC only, and you can give it a name tag. So I'm just gonna say that GFG VPC 1. Okay, I'm just gonna name it something like that. Now here either you can select it with this block, or I'm going to select with manual input. Okay, so this would be better. I will always choose the manual input. Suppose now I'm going to give it some range. Okay, let me just give it the range of 192.168.00/16. that means I am saying that my IP address, okay, I'm sorry, 162, that means my IP address must be starting from this range only. Whatever VPC is using, okay, my IP address is always going to start with this range. That means if after this, from this VPC, I'm going to create my EC2 instance, that means inside this VPC I'm going to create my EC2 instance. The EC2 instance would be having a private IP address starting with 192.168 or whatever you want. So let me just make it 168. Okay, so my IP address of the EC2 instance which I'm going to create in future would also be starting with this. Okay, starting with the 16 bits. 16 bits would be like this. Okay, now I'll just keep it disabled for IPv6. Okay, and then we have tenancy. Okay, fine. Let's just create the VPC. Okay, so you can see that our VPC has been created. VPC has been created. Here guys, you would say get some options also: subnets, route tables, internet gateway. We're gonna talk about this in upcoming videos. These are some vast topics, right? Let's talk about subnets for now. If you have a subnet, you can see that automatically some subnets are here. Which subnets? You can see that we were talking about the same IPs which we have default, right? These were from the default VPC. So default subnets are also here. Okay, so now if I just go to my VPC, okay, if I go to my VPC and we created this VPC, right? Here you can see we have some options, and if I go down, okay, perfect. Right now it's not associated with any subnet. Let's create the subnets. Okay, let's create the subnet. So here I'm gonna say that let's create a subnet. So I'm just gonna say create subnet, and select a VPC. So which VPC? So I'm gonna create a subnet for this VPC, okay, and then you're gonna give the name. Suppose I'm just gonna name it as SN1, okay. And now here you have option for availability zone. Why you get these options? Because obviously your zone is selected here. So for this for this region Mumbai, automatically VPC would be picked, okay. That means VPC would only be available for this region. If you select different region, Hyderabad, we have to create a different VPC. That means VPC would be region specific. That means now if you talk about the region of my VPC which I created, GFG VPC1, the region of that VPC is what? Mumbai, because automatically Mumbai is selected, automatically region would be picked, okay. But now if I talk about subnet, we have to pick the availability zone. So for which VPC, you can see this is the VPC. In this VPC, I have named the subnet. Which availability zone? Suppose I'm gonna say that this subnet is gonna be in this availability zone. Okay. Now automatically the block would be allocated. Okay. Now after this, guys, I'm just gonna click on create subnet. Okay, must be a valid one. Okay. So you can just give it some range. I'm gonna give it some same range only, okay. But yeah, you can change the block, or else what you can do is, yeah, you can do one thing, okay. So I'm gonna say that this subnet would be having an IP range of something like this, okay. And here I'm just gonna say 24. That means whatever happens in my subnet would be always having the IP of this. That means if the IP is this, then only anyone can access my subnet and do things, right? This is the IP, okay. Just remember this starting of the IP, okay. So just remember this. We're gonna create another subnet also. So you can see that's it, create subnet. So you can see our subnet has been created, SN1, right? I'll create one more subnet. Let's try to create one more subnet, and I'm just gonna say that SN2, okay. And I'll just pick the availability zone 1A again, because for other availability zone I think there is some issue for free tier. I'm just gonna pick 1A only for this other subnet also. But yeah, you can pick other ones if you are using paid version of AWS. We are using 1 year free version, so I'm just gonna go with 1A, because yeah, for other ones EC2 instance would be causing problem. I'm just gonna pick 1A, okay. Or let it be, let's pick 1B this time, okay. And this time I'm gonna say that the range would be 192.168.2.0/24. That means I'm saying my subnet 2 would be having this range of IP address, okay, this range of IP address, right? Now again I'm gonna click on create subnet. So you can see, guys, that another subnet has been created, SN1 and SN2. We created two subnets. That means our house is the VPC, subnets are the rooms of the house, right? You can see SN1 and SN2, right? The range of this one would be starting from this. This can be 0 to 255. This can be 0 to 255, any number, okay. I'm just talking about first 24 bits. First 24 bits must always be 192.168.1. First 24 bits must always be 192.168.2. Perfect. Now guys, let's try to do the same thing. Let's try to create an EC2 instance again, okay. Let's do this, although it won't work, but let's do this, okay. So we're gonna talk about this in the upcoming video. And right now I'm just wanting to show you that right now I haven't given the instance, I haven't given the internet access to my VPC to any subnet. Let's see what happens. So let's create a EC2 instance. So launch instance and inst3 suppose, okay, and VPC, sorry, your machine image, and here let's pick the key pair name. So my key 123, right? And here I can just, okay, fine, edit, okay. Now here, guys, you would get an option, okay. So now this time I am going to select my custom VPC, okay. I'm going to select my custom VPC. Now guys, here you got the option SN1 and SN2. Let's pick the SN1. So once you pick the SN1, okay, SN1 is for which area? 1A, okay, 1A. So you can see, say if I pick SN2, I think, yeah, there is no issue, okay, SN2 no issue. So you can see at 1B region, for this specific VPC, whatever rules are applied to this VPC would be applied to the EC2 instance, okay. That's why that's important, okay. So we have VPC and auto assign IP. This time just enable it, auto assign IP, okay. So now I'm just gonna say, okay, I'm just gonna say launch instance. Now this time let's see what kind of IP is allowed, okay, what kind of IP is given to this one, okay. So here, guys, you can see that the instance 3 has been created. It's having the IP 192.168.2. Why? Because we have given subnet 2, SN2, okay. SN2 is given to this EC2 instance. Let's try to give it SN1, which has IP 192.168.1 range, right? So I'm gonna create one more, okay. inst4 suppose. Okay, and again I'm just gonna go to edit, and here this time I'm gonna say that again this VPC, again this time SN1. Okay, SN1, this time I'm giving region 1A. The previous one had region 1B, SN2, right? Now auto assign, yeah, enable. Okay, and everything is fine. I think I need to say, okay, key pair is not selected, just select the key pair. Okay, perfect. Now let's click on launch instance. So you can see now I created another instance. This time this instance would be having the IP of what? 192.168.1. You can see this one because it's having SN1, right? SN1 subnet 1, right? You can get more details here. You can just see that if I just scroll down, I'll get more details here. Yes, in the networking part, you can see you got the more details. You got the VPC ID. This is the VPC which is selected. This is the subnet one which is selected, right? So guys, I hope you got the basic idea which we talked about today. Now in the next videos, we are gonna talk more things, right? For example, this is the instance which I created, right? This is the instance which I created. So if I go to instances, you can see that inst3 is running, suppose. If I click on connect, and if I click on connect, you would see that this won't work because we don't actually have the internet access. Maybe that's why it won't work. Can see it's trying to connect, and because of the internet connection it's not working. Why? Because my VPC does not have the internet connection, right? So we have to give that, we have to give some specific subnet the internet connection, some specific subnet doesn't have the internet connection. We have to apply those rules. Okay, so that comes in the routing table part and the internet gateway part, which we're going to talk about in the next video, right? So that's it for today guys. I hope you understood what's VPC at the base level and what's subnet and how to create instance with the help of that custom instance with the custom VPC, right? So that's it for today. I will see you in the next one. In the next video we're going to talk in more depth how to give internet access and how to write different rules. Okay, so I will see you in the next one. Till then, have a good day. Bye bye.